Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alyssa Farina. I am the Deputy Chief Resilience Officer for the City of Miami, and I'm about to introduce the next panel. I want to let you all know this panel is about to talk about advocacy, and I can tell you that local advocacy works. I can say that with confidence as a government employee that has watched policies made, programs altered, and decisions changed due to the input and influence of our community. For example, the existence of my office in the city of Miami. So thank you, advocates, for that. We have had a number of water wins in the city of Miami catalyzed by public advocacy. One resident elevated the risks of using Roundup as a pesticide, which led to the city changing the products it uses in public parks and right-of-ways. Constituents and groups like the Miami Waterkeeper raised the alarm on the impact fertilizers have on our bay health, which led to us passing a fertilizer ordinance, creating a blackout period. In April of 2020, we were the first to do so. And that was just months before the August 2020 fish kill, which made it clear that the health of the bay is in peril. Since then, the community has continued to be our eyes on the ground and our best stewards of the bay. Our Public Works Department is very familiar with Only in Dade and other social media collectives that have been essential in our ability to regulate and monitor pollution in the bay. Thanks to the countless posts and tags around silt plumes from construction sites, City of Miami set up an email hotline, discharge@miamigov.com, for reports, and then passed that stop work ordinance that Commissioner Russell just talked about, which regulates serious and repeat violators. Another publicly driven tool we use is the IC Change app, which has been essential to our ability to monitor floods and understand how to strategically respond. So as I said at the beginning, public advocacy works, and I call on the folks here to let the City of Miami and the Commission know how you feel about any of the policies that are moving forward in our jurisdiction. And with that, to talk more about advocacy, I introduce Dara from my Volunteer Cleanup Miami. Dara is a cultural anthropologist, environmentalist, and social entrepreneur. She's the executive director of volunteercleanup.org and a founding member of 100+ women who care about Miami Beach, a philanthropic giving circle. She launched Whoosh Water, a network of water bottle stations for public places, and that's just the beginning. So Dara, take it away. Thank you.
Hi there. It's now my pleasure to introduce our panelists. So first we'll have Interim Director George Perez is a law enforcement executive with the Miami-Dade Police Department. He has served the citizens of Miami-Dade County for over 22 years. And during his career, he has been assigned to both police services divisions as well as investigative services. Prior to his appointment to the position of Interim Director, he served as the Assistant Director of Police Services, overseeing both North and South Divisions, Strategic Response Division, Miami-Dade International Airport, and the Miami-Dade Seaport. He has also served as a procedural advisor on matters pertaining to compliance, bureau investigations, and employee discipline. Everyone behave. Perez is known for utilizing innovative best practices and being responsive to the unique needs of our diverse Miami-Dade County community. And our second panelist, we've already heard from, Louis Aguirre, so I'm not going to reintroduce him, but come on up and let's have a chat. Hello. Okay. You guys.
Good. Test one.
Here. Right, so just to kick off this topic, one of the reasons why I wanted to host this panel is because I admittedly am terrible on social media. And, you know, of course, running a nonprofit, it's one of those things that you feel like you have to do. But I find it, you know, very intimidating.
And oftentimes I sort of throw my hands up, it's just sort of like this big time suck. So, every once in a while, something happens, which reminds me that social media, when used effectively, can be a really powerful and important tool for the work that we all do, for driving awareness and for creating action. So a couple of weeks ago, there was an incident captured on social media. And I'm just curious, show of hands, how many people saw the viral, oh, you guys already know what we're talking about. Okay, the balloon popping, balloon gate, right? So who has not seen the video? Okay, a handful. So just Google or go to Channel 10. They had quite a few series on that, so you can look for the video afterwards. But basically what happened is that there was a yacht in one of the Miami marinas who had a celebration. The boat was decorated with balloons, and then he was popping the balloons and just letting them drop into Biscayne Bay. And so that, of course, created a firestorm on social media when the video was posted. It went viral. And that ultimately led to a series of arrests and heavy fines for the perpetrator. And then there were like all kinds of other side conversations, right? It was like a proposal and somebody had found the people who got it engaged and they corresponded the video from the boat with these other videos. And so it was this whole really interesting situation that played out on social media. And so I thought we would use that as a jumping off point for this conversation to really talk about what is the role of social media in amplifying environmental incidents and in spurring action. So we're going to take a deep dive into that as sort of a case study, and then maybe lead into some other side topics. So I'm going to start with a question for Louis. And I want to hear, we're just going to start from the beginning of what happened and how this transpired. And maybe, we can learn some things along the way. But how did you first become aware of the incident? And what actions did you take from there?
Like everything else, I get tagged on everything and I love it. So please continue to tag me, because then I tag Dave and I tag Rachel and I tag Urella and so forth and so on. And we go to Baywatch, but it's so important to build community. I cannot stress that enough. We are building community of people who care about what's happening with Biscayne Bay and the environmental footprint that we're leaving. So like everything else, someone took video of this incident in real time as it happened, and immediately it created outrage throughout social media. And I was tagged, and I immediately reposted it. And I tagged my new friend, George Perez, new director of Miami-Dade Police, who I had just done a cleanup with, that Dara and Dave had organized on Earth Day to clean up the Julia Tuttle Causeway. And we had over 150 Miami-Dade police officers and their families who showed up to help us clean up the causeway. And I had private conversations with many of your officers who walked away completely moved and shaken by what they saw, because the amount of trash that we picked up that day, I can't remember what the total was, but it was astronomical. And it just kept on coming. And there was a cleanup happening down the causeway, and we still didn't make a dent of all the debris that had accumulated on the shore of the Julia Tuttle Causeway. And that was just the southern shore of the causeway. And it was impressive. And they walked away, your officers, saying, we had no idea it was that bad. And I said, so what would you do now if you see someone littering? We're going to cite that person, and we're going to tell them it's not good. And that was the kind of validation that so many of these cleanup groups, I see Sophie out here, MJ out here, and Dave, you're out there every day in the trenches with these young kids, some as young as 13, some younger than that. Every weekend we're out there cleaning our causeways, our shores, our beaches, and all they want is help. They want help, and they want to know that they are being heard and they're being seen. And the commitment that you and your force showed that day was such a morale boost. And then the follow through, which is the most important part. 45 minutes after I tagged Miami-Dade County Police, Director Perez sent his illegal dumping unit to the marina. They began their investigation. They had their first arrest the day after. So that is the power of social media. So because I got tagged, I tagged him, and 45 minutes later, that investigation began, and less than a day later, arrests were made.
Awesome. So Director Perez, can you give us some insights on what transpired behind the scenes? So once you became aware of the incident, how did your team go about finding the boat, the responsible parties? What role did social media play in helping you put together the various pieces of the puzzle?
So social media is often credited, for some, capturing wonderful family moments, also some awful things, humanity is capable of greatness and darkness as well, right? But social media in this particular case was so instrumental because it captured something, an act that really outrages, quite frankly, most of us here as Miami-Dade County residents, but unfortunately doesn't receive the amount of awareness that it should. And so social media in this particular case really captured this moment and the importance, for us to immediately act on that in partnership with Louis, and also witness the individual who captured this and felt it important enough to share via social media. We wanted to make sure that we witnessed that individual. We wanted to make sure that we connected and that we messaged to our community that we're responsive. We see you, we hear you, we're going to take action. For us, having that social media video was really instrumental, because one thing is hearing about a complaint or receiving a complaint, anonymously or some information, but not actually having the evidence and not actually being able to see it, right? To have follow-up information. So just from that video itself, we were able to, obviously obtain attribution to who the responsible people were by looking at that video. We were able to go immediately dispatch our illegal dumping unit, our Marine Patrol unit out there, immediately make contact with the charter, find out who was hired, who was doing what, who was responsible for what, and then obviously be able to backtrack and reverse engineer, to the actual individual that was responsible for this. And let's be clear. One of the things that one of the comments that we have received is, and we're interested in all comments, whether they're good, and we're also interested in the ones that are not so good, right? That's how we learn and that's how we grow. But what we saw here was some people were feeling like, wow, this is just some balloons on the water. And that's exactly why a summit like this is so important. This is exactly why the work of Louis Aguirre and all of you, and our Chief Bay Officer, I'm not sure where she's at right now, but she's around here somewhere, is so important. There she is right there, is so important, right? And this is the importance of elections. This is the importance of having a mayor that understands and sees the importance of making sure that we maintain our environment. And this was a perfect example of the police department working together with its local officials, our media partners, and also bringing to bear, the full force of the law, because every crime matters and every crime impacts. The difference here is that this is impacting not just our marine life, but it's also impacting tomorrow's generation of Miami-Dade County residents. So that's why it was important for us.
Now, Louis, this video garnered so much attention, it even became a national headline. Why do you think that's the case? I mean, what is different from this video, all the other videos that you are posting, that we're all posting? What do you think was unique in this case that caused it to go viral?
Because Aquaman reposted it. I'm not kidding. Jason Momoa actually reposted the video. Wild. It went viral worldwide. And Inside Edition called you. We had networks calling you. I think they were caught in the act, right? But I really have to give credit where credit's due, not because he's my new best friend, but this is not the first video that I presented to law enforcement of people littering in the act. And usually I get, there's nothing we can do. It's on video. I can't enforce it. I have to witness it. And it's so demoralizing when you have people, the first Don't Trash Our Treasure, which we launched Earth Day a year ago. I lost all track of time. Showed a person on a jet ski with his buddy, and they get off the jet ski and they empty out literally 25 plastic bottles on the shore right there of the Miami Marine Stadium Basin. I had the serial number of the jet ski. We could find these people very easily. And the reaction, and I'm not going to let you know who the law enforcement agency was, it was not yours. And you were not director, so let's leave it at that. But they were like, we feel you, brother. This is horrible. It's outrageous, but there's nothing we can do. We have to witness it. Director Perez and I met haphazardly. I think he was just named officially director. I was at the mayor's office interviewing her about another passion of mine, which is getting Lolita out of this aquarium. That's a different story for another time. And I was interviewing her on what was happening with that. And Director Perez happened to be in the mayor's office, and we had a chat. He said, I really have been following the work you're doing on television, informing and educating our public. And I really want to make a statement that Miami-Dade Police really cares about the environment. Help me do that. Help me organize a cleanup. And it was because of that relationship, because you reached out to me, that we had that Earth Day cleanup. And that is why we had the follow through that we did. after the balloon incident. So, everything is about building community. That's why summits like these, as you said, are very, very important. And fostering these relationships are very, very important. Sharing our stories on social media, very, very important. This struck a nerve on social media because it was blatant, it was outrageous, and because it was caught in the act.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, certainly, for anyone taking notes on how to be better on social media like myself, I think part of it was that it was so shocking. When we do cleanups, and we're going to have a panel next about stormwater, we usually educate our volunteers that a lot of the trash we're finding in the ocean is coming as land-based litter through the storm drains. And that I always say, well, the good news is that means that, typically people aren't littering directly into the ocean or into the bay because we see it and, we instinctively know it's a beautiful thing and we shouldn't do that. And this was an example of somebody just blatantly littering into the bay. And I think that shock value was a key part of it. And then in addition, as you mentioned, the relationships that were built that helped us to really get traction. Director Perez, in the aftermath of this, I think many of us were, quite surprised and pleasantly so that there was such swift and decisive action, but also when we learned that people were arrested and imposed with massive fines. I mean, I think we were just dumbfounded. I mean, we were super happy, but very surprised. And if I understand correctly, that the crime was handled by the illegal dumping unit. Can you help us understand or shed some light on what is considered littering, what is considered illegal dumping, and what are the associated, penalties? Do they have different? Is something is punishable by imprisonment or just a fine? What are the differences between those two things?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's a serious crime, and the fact that up until now, there really hasn't been that attention. Everybody knows that it's wrong. Everybody drives and they see somebody littering and they're like, oh, look at this, right? Or they see people out in our waterways doing what they're doing and they know it's wrong, but do they really know how significantly wrong it is, right? And so we wanted to send a message. Number one, we investigated this with our illegal dumping unit. We committed our best resources to it. We wanted to be swift and responsive to it. We wanted to make sure that we could secure convictions on this. And it is a serious crime in this particular case because of the amount of toxic garbage that was placed into the bay, right? This is harmful. It has to be harmful to humans and marine life. Okay.
It's 200 balloons too, but it wasn't like 5
Yeah.
or 6. If you've seen the video, there were 200 balloons on this boat.
Yeah, this was a significant amount, and not just to marine life, right? But the damage that this causes, long-lasting damage that this causes, but also the effects to our storm drainage. And how much are we working on our storm drainage right now? So this particular case netted 2 felony arrests. We have no discretion on that. If it's a felony, it's not like we can sit here and barter and say, well, it's not that big of a deal. We're going to give you a misdemeanor. No, it's the law is a law, right? So every crime matters. We investigated the way we would any other crime, and this carried 2 felony charges and upwards of $25,000 of fines. Right now, the reality is what sentencing actually occurs. The state attorney's office will take into consideration what these people's criminal backgrounds are, the same way they will with any type of crime. But the point is that for the very first time, in the messaging that I have received in my department has been, hey, wow, we didn't realize the significance of this, and we didn't realize how important you all thought this was. And thank you very much, for all involved for bringing this information to us. And we're spreading the information. And I'll tell you something else, to social media's perspective. Louis also posted a guy that was dumping beer cans, right? And he was making fun of it. He had just been stopped by Coast Guard, and then he went ahead and filed some more video footage on social media, just discarding beer cans into the ocean, right? Well, guess what? As a result of Louis posting that, I went ahead and I activated our Homeland Security, right? We were able to seek attribution on that social media account. Turns out this guy actually, what was that? Yes, as a matter of fact, yes, he was located in Louisiana. It actually had occurred in Louisiana. But that is the power and reach of social media. And that is the power when a community works together, what it can get done.
I mean, you mentioned, like using this to like really send a message, right? And make an example out of somebody. I mean, it almost makes me wonder, like, maybe we should pull somebody over for flicking a cigarette butt out of their car and like make an example out of them and create national headlines, and people might not do that anymore.
Yeah, listen, anything that we can do to bring awareness, right? Educate our community, bring awareness to these situations is exactly what we need to be a part of. And that's why this is so important, this summit.
And I know that our cleanup organizations out there greatly appreciate this. I'm speaking for you. Sophie's over there. She's nodding her head. Albert's over there, because these kids, man, they give blood, sweat, and tears every single week. Every single week. And they just want to know that somebody's watching over them. Someone has their back. And you, sir, sent that message by doing what you did.
So we've got about another minute left, and I want to get to, sort of the really important takeaway, which is, the best way for us to all like be on the lookout and to report litter, report illegal dumping. I want to give a shout out to Miami Waterkeeper. They have a program called 1,000 Eyes on the Water. And so that's just a way for us all to be, sort of little citizen detectives and sending them reports. But as far as, officially reporting, please, help us understand, like, I think there's some confusion, right? And so what we all do is we just like tag everyone on social media, but when do we need to tell DEP? When is it DERM? When do we go to the police? And what are the ways that we report that? I mean, I don't know if tagging you on social media is the way you want us to go about that, but help us understand what we do when we see this stuff
So
happen.
the easiest way to do it to get immediate responses to either call 311 or go to baywatch.org, because that will send it straight to DERM. That is the brand new hotline. That is it .com or .org? Yeah, so it's Baywatch. But Baywatch is more immediate. 311 as well, so that works. And I got to tell you, I use them. Yesterday there was a derelict vessel that was become unanchored from Hollywood. It drifted all the way down to the Miami Marine Stadium Basin and all the way down to Key Biscayne. I immediately emailed Baywatch, and I called 311, and within 45 minutes, I think it was Miami-Dade that responded, Miami-Dade Marine Patrol that responded, and was actually able to secure the vessel and get it out of harm's way before it hurt anybody or damaged our wildlife. So it does work.
And then also, you know what, the phone's really a powerful thing. So what I would recommend that we all do, and then we put the message out to our community, is right on your phone, on your favorite contacts, create one that says 311, or you can also create one for our illegal dumping unit, which is 305-323-2115. And you know what, you see something, you're able to say something immediately and get that information out. 311 Baywatch, our illegal dumping unit. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to absolutely respond.
Awesome. So I think, I think as environmentalists and activists, we sometimes can, feel like it's always an uphill battle, right? And you're going against the grain. And so I think it's really important, to always take a step back, celebrate the wins, and especially examples like this, and just be so proud of the partnership, the relationships that we've built in the community that help us get stuff done. So thank you both for that. I think we've got a few minutes from questions. I'm supposed to look on the monitor down there. I see not questions. Are there questions on the?
Excellent. That's absolutely true. Right? When people see a uniform, they straighten up, because no one likes to be told, they can't do something, right? But people are absolutely going to do things they shouldn't be doing, absent of being checked. So we want to work together with our community. And that's why we have our illegal dumping unit. You can call 305-323-2115. And we want to have our illegal dumping unit out there. We go out there for anything 50 cubic feet or more. They will go out there, they will investigate. I can tell you last year, actually since November of last year, we've investigated over 500 cases of illegal dumping in our inlets. And we've actually have netted over 150 felony arrests for that, right? So there's much more work to be done. I can tell you with the cooperation and the collaboration and support of our local county officials, our mayor, and also our chief bay officer. She has been an advocate, an absolute advocate, for getting us more resources for our Marine Patrol unit, specifically in the Miami River area. So soon, we're actually in the procurement phase right now. We're actually going to get another boat, another safe boat out for our Miami River. We have our personnel already assigned to that. And I can tell you, for me, it's about inspiring my police department, inspiring my folks to know that this is a very important topic. This is a top priority for me. It's a top priority for our community. And so we're going to keep getting after it.
I'm gonna make a statement here because I'm looking at the board of questions. One, is there an official hashtag? 311 has a Twitter page. Use the 311 Twitter page. They actually respond immediately and defer to the relegated departments. So use that. There was a couple of questions here that I think are quick. They see a lot of speeding in the Bay. They see a lot of recklessness. And the same way, I know this discussion was had in the past, the same way we had red light cameras. Are we starting to monitor the Bay with video so that we can at least address what's going on in the Bay in real time, as opposed to saying, see something, say something? Do we have the ability to do that?
Let me share this with everybody. If you have video of a boat operator doing something illegal and you're able to safely record that video with a whole number, guess what? I may not be able to cite that individual, or we're not able to see who that driver is, or a sign, very much like a red light camera. But what I can do is that I can have my officers knock on that door. I can have the Miami-Dade Police Department bring it to their doorstep and say, hey, if this did occur and this boat was videotaped in this particular action, it's unacceptable. And if you're the registered owner, whoever you may be giving that boat to or chartering it out to, can potentially put you in some serious problems. So absolutely, if we have video like that, we want to do it. You've been seeing us on the Rickenbacker, and also we're monitoring speeds and boating violations, which we do right now. We issue a lot of boating violations, unfortunately, because we need to educate our boaters. We saw that in the pandemic. A lot of people took out to the waterways with boats. Some people just don't have boating experience, right? And so we need to make sure we're out there educating them and citing where necessary.
There's one final question, which is amazing work on the balloon incident. Given that City of Miami has passed an ordinance on construction sites, does that indemnify developers, or will the same level of enforcement be brought to bear from a punitive standpoint, other than just keeping them off the site?
We will always enforce the law, regardless whether it's a construction company or a development company or whomever it might be, right? We're going to hold people accountable, whether they're a company, a Fortune 500 company, or a small mom and pop, or an individual. We're going to uphold the law.
All right, thanks so much. We're out of time and we're going to move on to the next panel.